so exhausted, so thirsty, I'm nauseous. Am I out of my mind? Am I out of my mind? Am I out of my mind? Am I out of my... Sipping Capri Sun to feel the nostalgia. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it? I can use a vacation from my communication. I'm a super therapy and wicked meditation. I'm just trying to get down on that good vibration. I'm an anti-socialite. I'll invite my friends to the party in my head. Yeah, I like it. I'm an anti-socialite. Loving my regrets. Growing up instead. Yeah, I like it. White on white maxes.
But how are you?
Can you see me, hear me, not pixelated?
Yes. Can you see and hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
How you doing, Julia?
Doing well, my dear. It's a crazy time, but you know, we're trying to stay creative and write constantly and keep the creative juices flowing.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining. You know, you guys are such an exciting band. Such a unique sound, such energy. You know, just from the research alone, you have me all buzzed up today. So it's great to sit down and talk to you a little bit. So we do want to talk to you about Growing Up Is Dead, which just came out last Friday, and the story of the Foxies a bit. But first, if you don't mind, I feel like there's a couple questions, real world questions that I feel like I have to ask, right? I grappled with this.
Yeah.
Obviously, number one, you know, you live in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one of the cities where there's been protests, and yesterday was Blackout Tuesday, and you know there's a new noise for equal rights. So you know, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, you know, I think this is the perfect time. Like, everybody has now been able to find their voice. So I think it's definitely the biggest time for us to stand with our Black brothers and sisters, hold their hands through all of this, offer support any way that they need, but also allow them to amplify their voices. I think that that's the biggest thing. And I think that that's what, you know, Blackout Tuesday was really awesome for is, you know, like, it was time for us to give the podium to them. It was time for us to be like, hey, it's time. We're giving you the space. You need to amplify those voices. And I think that that's the biggest thing is, like, learn about our history, like, read on it, you know, donate time, donate your money, donate your support, give everything you can, because this is history, you know, like, they're our brothers, they're our sisters. We got to stand with them through everything. And yeah, it's definitely, it's people are going to be reading about this in history books one day, and they're going to be like, damn.
True.
Yeah.
True. Who stepped up, who didn't? Absolutely.
Exactly.
I agree, Julia. I agree. Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about you know, coronavirus now, right? It's like we've been kicking off. It feels like the past 2-3 months now with this question. But how has this experience been like for you, Julia, for your band and for everything?
You know, it's been kind of weird because, like, we had this whole release plan and we had all these tours lined up. And because of coronavirus, it's definitely like, okay, yeah, the releases have been good and they've worked on our behalf, but we still can't play music, you know.
And you're a live band. You're so spectacular live, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's like that's where we, you know, have the most fun is on tour, on stage. Like, you don't hear us until you see us live. So it's definitely been a change of pace for us. We've had to learn how to get creative with just, like, keeping people engaged, making our family and friends know that, like, we are here to support them, because this is a really weird time for everyone. And now, I mean, because of the pandemic, and then, you know, all the things that are happening this past month, this past week, it's like, all you can do is just show support, and we need to pause. We need to take this time to really reflect on, you know, our choices as people, our choices as Americans, you know, like, we need to literally sit and take the time to focus on what really matters. So it's like, you know, yeah, the music matters, but at the end of the day, your community right now, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Absolutely. Well said, Julia. So
Thank you.
let's go back to the beginning, if you will, of your
Yeah.
early life. You started singing at 2 years old.
Yeah.
That's magnificent. So I want to ask you, like, where did the music DNA come from? I know your dad played in a band. Is that where he came from? Like, where was the DNA came from?
So I just remember being 2 years old and running around in my diapers and bobbing my head to Ozzy Osbourne.
Wow.
And my dad always had Ozzy, Kiss, Billy Idol, NXS, U2 playing, and it just kind of like instilled this passion in me. And then at the age of 10, I saw Green Day live. I was like in 4th grade. My dad took me to my first rock concert, and my mom dyed my hair bright red, and we traveled. And I was like, this guy is epic.
Yeah.
Like, Billy Joe is epic. I want to be just like him. And that kind of started the whole idea. It kind of put that idea in my mind, kind of like, hey, maybe you could do this too. So
Yeah.
3 years later, I started my first band.
Which
I
was,
was with them until I was,
what was the name of that band?
the first one was Lyra Shines, but we were
Lyra
only a band like a year, and then we changed our name to the Local Traumatic, and I was with them until 18 years old. And then I did XFactor, was on that for a hot second. And then when I was done with that, I moved to Brooklyn, did the solo thing, and then Phoenix. And at the age of 21 in Phoenix, that's where the Foxies was created. So
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you there's a lot to unwrap there.
I know.
So, okay. So the Green Day stuff, right? So like seeing, your first show, seeing Green Day, 10 years ago or whenever that was, epic, right? Billy Joe, Trey, Tom Weed for someone your age blew your mind. Absolutely.
Yes. It was the coolest thing, because I just remember every single show, because my dad took me to quite a few. Like, we would travel the East Coast and see them.
You got a cool dad.
He's amazing. My dad is absolutely amazing. Both of my parents are just the most supportive people. But I just remember Billy Joe would do this thing at every show. He would play the song, and in the middle of the song, he would call somebody up on stage to play for him. And he would run around the stage and amp people up. And I always wanted to be that person to go up there and play, even though I didn't know the song. Like, I didn't know how to play.
Right.
But
I find that amazing, by the way. I don't know how they do this, because I've been in a couple of these shows. They pick up this, who was lately, the Killers last year. They picked up this kid, 5 years old, and the kid played as good as the real drummer. Like,
it's just like,
what is this? First of all, how did the kid, I have so many questions.
it really makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. And like, it's the craziest thing, because like everybody that goes up there is either like an amazing singer, or they just like, they throw themselves up there. They probably don't know anything about the song, but they're killing it. And, the band is still just hyping them up. So I think that definitely got the excitement roaring in me.
That makes
at
sense.
A very young age.
That makes sense. Now seeing you guys on, live, that makes sense. And then you mentioned X Factor for a hot minute, as you say,
Yes.
In 2012, one of the first seasons, right? But it was great. And you were a voice teacher at the time. Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously it was a newish show in America. In the UK it was big, but it was catching on. How did that go? How was that experience?
Yeah, it was, at the time it was very, very exhilarating, because I was 18. I was teaching voice lessons, or shall I say vocal performance. And I was like, what, I'm just going to audition for X Factor, because the band that I'm in, we're just not really doing anything. We're kind of calling it quits. I might as well just try it. It's not like I'm going to get on. And so I did the first preliminary audition. I didn't hear anything for 4 weeks. They said if I got in that they would let me know in 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not accepted, so it's fine. So
Good job interview answer.
Yeah.
Like, you'll hear from us.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, 2 weeks after the deadline, I'm like, yeah, there's no way. So I'm sitting down about to teach my first voice client, and I'm reading a magazine on One Direction and how they got discovered on X Factor. And as soon as I was reading it, I kid you not, my friend, I get a phone call from XFactor saying, "Hey, Julia, this is so-and-so from XFactor. Just want to let you know
Wow.
that we forgot to call you 2 weeks ago, but you're going to be auditioning on TV at the end of this week." And I'm like,
What?
what?
So you were in LA at this point? Like everything was in LA, or you had to travel? What happened? What's this?
So the preliminary auditions were in North Carolina. They were, I grew up in Charlotte.
Okay.
And it was in Greensboro. So I traveled to Greensboro, and then the audition, the filming, I had to travel back to Greensboro. And then after I got accepted on TV, they flew me to Miami where we did the boot camp. And I think I got eliminated the last round before boot camp ended. So I made it pretty far. I made it top 16 in my category. Yeah. But I'm glad I only made it that far because, like, even though it's cool to say that you did that, like, I don't want that to be what people recognize me from,
Sure. Absolutely. You still got a nice little, smirk there from Simon Cowell and like an intrigued look from Britney Spears. That did happen, so that's good. That's on the record.
I was like, "Ooh, Simon, you giving me those eyes, man."
Yeah, exactly. That's all. That's great to hear, Julia. Okay, and then of course you did a little bit of your solo career. You started getting into this a little bit. You did some great work, including songs like "Reckless," right, in 2014.
Yeah.
Tell us about this solo period for Julia Lauren Bullock.
Yes, so that was kind of my dip the toe in the water type thing, like. I was like, I'm done with X Factor. I'm out of my contract. I'm going to do whatever I want. So, so I moved to Brooklyn with this, little EP that had Head Over My Heart, Reckless, Fall, and the other one. Can't remember the other, but it was that long ago. And, the whole time I was in Brooklyn, I was there for maybe 6 months. I only played one show. And it was really disheartening because I wanted to play more, but, being a 21-year-old in a really, really big city, never have living on your own before, never have lived on your own before. I was working so much that I didn't get enough to my artistry, like I didn't get enough time for that. So I did the one solo show and I was like, okay, something's not working here. This is fun. I'm glad I got to play again, but something's not working. So that's when, I was just like, it's time to start a new chapter and move on to Phoenix. And that's what I did.
Amazing. So you moved to Phoenix. Did you have family there or like any connection to Phoenix?
The guys that I wrote the first EP with, the Julia Lauren EP, as well as the Oblivion EP and the Growing Up Is Dead EP, they were based in Phoenix at the time. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, are we talking about Jake and Rob or someone else?
No, we're talking about the Silverman brothers.
The Silverman brothers.
So
okay.
Yes, the Silvermans. They were there from pretty much day one. They were there from day one for me. And they are the big part of the Foxies DNA. And then my second show ever that I played as the Foxies, that's when Jake came in and.
Gotcha.
He just started off as filling in because, my drummer at the time was a friend of his. He's like, "Hey man, we just need you to fill in for this gig. It's going to change your life." And Jake was like, "All right, man, I doubt that, but whatever." And I mean, now he's the Foxy guitar player. And if he left, it would not be the same. So, I mean, same with Rob, like Rob opened up for us in one of the shows that we played 3 years ago. I remember at the time, and Rob came up to me and he was like, "Hey, so that sounded great, but your drummer sucks. So let me be your drummer." And ever since then, I was like,
okay. Wow.
I was like, that confidence won you, baby. You are now the Foxies drummer. So
that's great. Yeah, you guys make a fantastic trio. It's great chemistry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's great. And like I think you had a great quote once that you said that the band sounds like if Billy Idol and Blondie had a baby. Genius. That should be enshrined in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame entrance. I don't know. It's epic because it's exactly how you guys sound. And you mentioned your EPs, Oblivion, one of them, Floods. It's a cracker of a song, by the way. To Growing Up Is Dead. Obviously the concept of the album is different now than it was like maybe in your dad's age or when I was a child or
Yep.
something. So you guys are like pretty keen on the EPs, which is great, because sitting through one of your EPs, average 30 minutes, is a whole experience. It's digestible, but you end up feeling it's like a palate cleanser. It's phenomenal. What is that? What is this? Where does the idea to work on EPs come from? Is this has to do with the trends or what?
Well, the crazy thing about it is like so the Foxies Oblivion, that was gonna start off as an album, but a good friend of ours was like, hey, not to like discourage you or anything, but nobody knows who you are, so who's going to listen to a 10-song album from somebody that they don't know? And I was like, that's a good point. So we changed Oblivion from 10 songs to 6 songs. And then Battery was an EP with 4 songs. And then we had a single in between then and now. But Growing Up Is Dead, it just seemed like the perfect time to like encapture an EP and put something together, because it was about that time to get just like that Oblivion 2.0, like we needed something a little bit better. And I think the next thing that we have is it's going to be an album, but we got to find the right time. We got to find the right words to say. It's going to take some time, but who knows, man? I mean, Growing Up Is Dead is my favorite so far. So
it's fantastic. It's a great piece of work, and we'll get to it in a sec. But yeah, I mean, you've gone from playing classic, yet small venues in Nashville, like the End, to being fixtures at the Basement End. But now you're opening for like 80s classic bands like Berlin and Bonnaroo in 2018, which has a nice. It's not just a typical. Well, they played Bonnaroo. It has I like it because you earned it. It has a gritty story. Tell us about it.
It was really cool because, like, we've always wanted to play Bonnaroo. I mean, duh, who doesn't want to play Bonnaroo? Who doesn't want to play like a big freaking music festival? One day we want to sell out Wembley Stadium, but we got to wait for that. So we heard about the Road to Rue kind of Battle of the Bands thing at the Basement East, and this happened 2 years ago. We joined in on the Battle of the Bands. We're like, listen, there's a ton of great bands because it's Nashville. So let's not get our hopes up. Let's just kick them in the face with our freaking passion. So that's what we did. We went up on stage. We were unapologetically ourselves. They voted us into the next round, which were the finals. And then they voted us that night. It was between us and another band. I can't remember which one it was, but we were like, listen, the bands who are in the finals, they're all great. If we don't win, we at least got this far, which is really, really cool. So they called our name. We won. It was really, really awesome. A lot of glitter, a lot of hugs and kisses everywhere. And then we go to Bonnaroo, and we basically show up with nothing. Like, we were like, oh, yeah, it's fine. We're going to camp in our cars and, like, eat power bars. No, dude. We show up. The only thing that I brought was my show clothes and some other, like, really dope interview outfit, and that was it.
Uh-huh.
And the first day we got there, I got heat stroke. Now I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and Bonnaroo is like it's in Tennessee in like July, I think, or something. It's really hot. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So hot. So like we show up and like I'm already starting to get a little tired and winded, and I'm like, oh God, something's happening to me. And then the next day we have sound check at like 11. We play at 1. And I just remember being on stage, my heart racing so fast, me seeing stars. And I was like, there's only one song left. Keep going.
Wow. Yeah.
And we finished it off. I had a Bud Light Lime and some Cheese Whiz. And that was not the best combination, but it saved me. And it was a whirlwind, dude. But it's definitely a story for the books.
Do you remember like just performing, or was it a blur?
I remember performing, and it's great because I like to believe that I remember almost all of our shows because each of them are so pivotal for me, and each one feels like a new step in the right direction, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think if you don't feel proud of yourself at the end of a show, you're definitely not stepping into the right direction. So I remember it. It's a little hazy because it was so hot and I felt like throwing up the whole time, but it was an epic moment. Like, I saw people there that I had not seen since elementary school, which was really cool. So it was like a little family reunion all in one.
That's amazing. Wow,
Yeah.
what a formidable story. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's
Of course.
great. And so you mentioned Growing Up Dead. Your latest EP just came out. Really, really, I do agree with you. I think it's your best work. It's phenomenal. All tracks are great. But for someone that doesn't know the Foxies, I want to encourage you to go to YouTube and start off by YouTubing their first single, the video of this song called "AntiSocialite."
Yeah.
But here's the thing with that video. It is. I don't say this ever. It's a legendary video. It's epic. It is no like, it reminds me of, like, those people need to see it because it's like Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's like OK Go in the early 2000s. You'll see it like 5 times in the first sitting. You're not just gonna watch it one time. So we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Obviously you work with Morgan Swank with Moonscar Productions. She's an Emmy award-winning TV writer, very accomplished, and it was directed by Ren Evans as well. Tell me just the experience of making this wonderful video.
It was the most amazing experience because Morgan is like my best friend and she is so talented, and being able to work on art with your best friends is an amazing accomplishment, I would say. And the team that she put together, that was my first time ever meeting Ren. And then you've got Anna Haas as the photographer, creative director, photographer. And then you got Austin Boylan, and then all the other team members, even the children that were the actors in this, and John Oates. Like, that was just...
I was going to get to that. Of course. Yeah, just casually, John, just Jay and Jay.
Mr. Oates,
Yeah.
Coach Fox. It was a surreal moment. Like, that was the first time that we ever were in a position to where we felt like the stars of a film, and Morgan just has this beautiful, magical way of making everybody feel so important and so talented. And we started at 5 a.m. and we didn't end until 8 p.m. that night. So it was a very long day. We didn't have any breaks. Of course, the kids got to eat and stuff, but we're like, no, let's work through this. Like, we're getting all the good shots. And then I'll let you talk. I'll let you introduce the whole John thing if you want.
No. I mean, yeah, you're right. The video is super vibrant, colorful. It has warm tones and just the right touch of nostalgia, right? But then you put it with the music and it's like, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's just a perfect mix. So, I mean, John Oates, what can I say? Obviously, John Oates from Hall & Oates. He's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, inductee, part of one of the most famous and important duos in rock and roll history. He makes a little cameo in your video as the coach. Coach. So how was, how did you guys work with him? Did you know him? How was the connection with him? Tell us about that.
It was all Morgan. It was all Morgan Swank. She messaged me because I remember I was in the gym that morning and we were kind of throwing ideas back and forth, and she had the initial idea of us being in a gym, doing our song and being in these really random situations. And I was like, well, maybe what if the people in the gym that we are like rivaling are teenagers, beautiful teenagers, because then it's like, it's kind of like we are kind of going in like back in time, like trying to revive our high school years. And she was like, oh, I actually really like that. And I have a couple of people in mind for the coach. But one already responded, and I'm pretty sure we found your coach. Do you want to know who he is? I was like, sure. She was like, it's John Oates, Julia from Hall & Oates. I was like, you're making my dreams come true right now, Morgan.
Pun intended. Good one.
like what the heck? So, and he was just a dream to work with. Like, he's such a nice guy. He is so sweet. He is so genuine. I mean, he literally was genuinely interested in not only us as artists, but us as humans. Like, and it was a beautiful thing to experience. And now he will forever be Coach Fox. So
Perfect.
yeah,
I think a very select group of people can call him Coach Fox.
I
So
know.
you're part of a group of like 3.
Yeah, literally.
That's great, Julia. Oh man, you've been so generous with your time, Julia. This is
Of course.
so fun, so fun. So yeah, I want to ask you, to finish off, what do you think? It looks like the live industry is really going to be paused pretty much the rest of the year. The more I talk to industry people, maybe like November, some sort of little switch, but pretty much the year is going to be in pause. So what's next for the Foxies and touring this great EP, and when will the people get to hear it and feel this with you guys?
No, well, Jamie, we're not quite sure on the touring aspect, but I can guarantee that you will get at least maybe like one more new song by the end of the year, hopefully.
Amazing.
And we do have, we are constantly writing. We're constantly trying to find ways to do live streams, do a live stream concert, a benefit show, something that keeps people engaged but spreads awareness through, everything that's going on right now. So stay tuned because we got a lot of cool things up our sleeve. We just got to make sure that it's the right move,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people will hear the Foxies. It'll be a household name in no time. So Julia, thank you so much. I hope I get to see you guys perform next year when you're in tour, whether you come to South Florida or I'll just catch you somewhere else, but whatever, man.
I would love to come to Florida. I'm so there.
Absolutely. I mean, Miami always needs some glitter rock punk kick in the butt like this one. So
oh my gosh, you just tell me when, man, and I'll be like, all right, boys, it's time to play.
Perfect. Awesome. Julia, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.